Wilson, and I want to welcome you to a brand new episode of the AngelWing Creative Learning Project. Today's lesson is one of our theater sessions, and it's all about costumes. So today I'm going to share things you need to know about putting together costumes for your show or production on a budget. Now, the AngelWing Project has produced many shows from the 1800s up to modern day, and that calls for very different looks and very different costumes. Costumes are important because they add one of the visual components to the play and even help set the atmosphere of a scene. They help us define the characters of the play. So today, we're going to discuss what is costume design? What are the different types of costumes? What is the role of a costume designer? What costumes are right for your show? And how and where to find affordable costumes. So, are you ready to learn? Fantastic! Let's get started. Costume design is the creation of clothing for the overall appearance of a character or performer. Costumes help tell the story. For example, they can be used to describe the age of the actors or the period or the setting of the play. They can also be used to depict moods or even give us a glimpse into the character's personality. Costumes can make a statement and show various occupations or professions, even a character's socioeconomic status. Even more, costumes can tell you the time of year or even where the character is located. So again, the costumes bring that visual element to the play that transfers messages to the audience in a subliminal way. It is one of the most important tools that the director uses to tell the story and to help transform the actors into believable characters on stage. There are typically 4 types of costumes that are used in theater: historical, fantastical, dance, and modern. For historical costumes, designers create clothing set in different time periods. Research is important because each time period has its own unique set of details. Those details must be properly interpreted for a successful costume. Things to consider are the year, the age, gender, social setting, economic status, ethnicity, and even fashion trends of the time. Nothing worse than trying to create a look that doesn't go with the time period of the show. Fantastical or fantasy costumes are often magical, mystical, mythical characters, many times with a medieval feel, such as fairies, goddesses, princesses, and witches. A great example would be C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or even The Hobbit. Dance costumes are often used in musical theater, although not always. Dance costumes are designed with the movement of the characters in mind, the visual effect, and the story itself. Dance costumes can go from quite simple to very elaborate. Now, modern costumes are clothing worn in contemporary times and appropriate for the time period. This could be a specific year or years, setting, location, again, the character's age, gender, profession, personality, and so forth. A costume designer for theater creates the clothing actors wear during a stage performance. Besides clothing, a theater costume designer is also responsible for identifying the accessories such as jewelry, hats, gloves, scarves, ties, shoes, or any accessories that each performer wears during a stage production. A lot of professional costume designers have gone to school for fashion design or theater arts to learn how to design theater clothing. They should be able to sketch out renderings of costumes before they are constructed. But on the other hand, many people learn along the way and just have a knack for knowing what looks good on stage. Costume designers work very closely with the director to understand the vision for the show and interpret that vision into the costumes. A costume designer must first read and understand the script to learn about the personalities of the character. If the production is set in an earlier time period, the costume designer researches the clothing styles worn in that era. Now, the costume designer also confirms the number of speaking and non-speaking characters in each scene of the production and what each one will wear. This is especially important because it identifies when and if the characters need to change, how much time is available, and how to set up the costumes for the show. A good costume designer should be a great researcher, creative and imaginative, artistic, and able to learn a script and understand a script in terms of scene changes and who is wearing what. They do this by developing what's called a costume plot. This is a list that shows which characters appear in each scene, what they are wearing, and how they move throughout the play. The costume plot tells in specific detail what each character is wearing in each scene. It also helps plan for very quick changes between scenes. Usually the designer works with production assistants to coordinate quick changes. So how do you know what costumes are right for your show? Maybe you have a costumes designer or maybe not. Now, sometimes in smaller or community theater, people wear many hats, which could mean you use other members of the team to create the costumes and the costume plot. But here are questions you need to answer. What is the play about? What period is the play set in? Who are your characters? What are their genders? What are their ages? What is their socioeconomic status? What are their various personality attributes? Are they conservative and demure? Or are they loud and flashy? What is the season? Is it winter? Summer? Will you need coats or jackets? Will the play take place over a period, different days, weeks, or months? How often does the clothing need to be changed? Will you provide everything, all of the accessories, or will the characters be required to provide any part of their costume? So, that's a lot to think about. But you'll also need to get the sizes and measurements of each character and develop the look for each one based on their role. Finding the right costumes is key to the look and feel of your show. Now, there are a number of ways to get costumes for your show, but I want to share with you how to obtain costumes for your show on a budget. Now, if you have a large budget for your show, then of course, go all out. But for smaller theaters or community theater, most times we have to find the most inexpensive way to have successful costuming for our stage productions. So, first things first, you have to establish a budget for your costumes so you can understand exactly how much you can spend. Usually, that is the driving force behind how you will obtain your costumes. Now, there are usually 4 ways to get your costumes. The first way is a pooled costume. Many theater groups have built up an inventory and costumes are stored. If these costumes have been used and can be reused, that's great and would be considered pooling a costume. Larger theaters often have their own costume shops where costumes are made and stored. You can also rent or borrow. There are costume houses all over the country that will rent costumes to you and ship them to you as well. Now, if it's a specific show that you want to do, such as Cats, you can rent the entire costume wardrobe. Renting is also useful when you need several of the same costume. Sometimes local theaters will allow you to borrow costumes or even donate them to you. It never hurts to ask. You may be surprised how much people are willing to share. Now, shopped costumes is just basically purchasing costumes from costume houses or costume websites or other outside resources. Secondhand and thrift stores are extremely valuable options. I love thrift stores. Check with theater houses to see if they are willing to sell you inventory at low prices. Constructed costumes are costumes designed for specific characters that someone needs to make. Once that's done, then they can become part of your stored inventory. So what type of shows do you usually produce? Because there may be some staple pieces that should always be a part of your inventory. For example, I have black pants in many sizes, many types of hats. So depending on your budget, you need to do what is best for your show and obviously what you can afford. Now, storage space is also a consideration when buying costumes. Would it be cheaper to buy in the long run if you think you will get multiple uses? Another tip is to think about how the costume will be cleaned. Can it be laundered? Does it have to be dry clean? I prefer laundered, but that needs to be factored into your budget as well. So, I've talked about a lot. I've talked about what is costume design, what are the different types of costumes, what is the role of a costume designer, what costumes are right for your show, how and where to find affordable costumes. Oh, I'm supposed to wait again. So remember, good costume designing does not have to break the bank. Be resourceful because this part of the production is so important for a great and successful show. Please stay tuned and join me for another episode of the AngelWing Creative Learning Project. Thanks for joining and keep being artastic.